You're going to start this career with $14.20 an hour and steel-toed boots that don't fit right. You're going to end it, if you make it, with a pension, a body that cracks when you stand up, and a number in your retirement account that looked impossible when you were 22 and eating dollar noodles in a crew van outside Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Here's the gap nobody talks about. The BLS median wage for a railroad locomotive engineer in 2024? $72,840 a year. The bottom 10%? $46,000. The top 10%? $107,000. And the Class 1 railroads, Union Pacific, BNSF, CSX, they'll quote you $90,000 in the job posting. They won't tell you the first 18 months are training pay. They won't tell you you're on call 24 hours. They won't tell you that 34% of new hires quit before they see their first full paycheck cycle. You read that statistic on your phone. You laugh. This is every level of a railroad engineer's career. Level 1, the apprentice, age 16 to 18, you don't know what you don't know. You are 16 years old and your uncle gets you a summer job at a short-line railroad yard in Shelby, Ohio. Track maintenance crew. You're not driving anything. You're handing tools to people who are. The pay is $13.50 an hour. No overtime. No benefits. Cash on Fridays. You spend 3 months learning what a spike maul is. You learn what a tamping machine does. You learn that a Class 1 track defect can derail a 15,000-ton freight train going 60 miles an hour, and that you personally are responsible for not creating one. You don't have a certification. You don't have a union card. You have a hard hat and a high-vis vest that's 2 sizes too big, and you sweat through both of them every single day in July. Nobody here is romanticizing this. It's loud. It's hot. It smells like diesel and rust and creosote, that chemical they soak railroad ties in that the EPA has been trying to phase out since 1999. It gets in your clothes. Your mom asks what that smell is. You make $8,100 that summer. After taxes, it's $6,700. You spend $210 of it on steel-toed boots. You come back the next summer. And the one after that. Because there's something about this that hooks you. Not romance. Not glory. Something simpler. The math of it. The physics of it. The fact that when you do the job right, 200 train cars move exactly where they're supposed to go, and nothing catches fire, and nobody dies. That's enough. For now. Level 2, entry-level rail, the conductor pipeline, age 19 to 23, the union card that costs you 3 years. You are 19. You apply to CSX Transportation. They hire you as a trainee conductor out of their Nashville, Tennessee division. Day 1, they hand you a packet. Federal Railroad Administration, FRA, certification requirements. You need to pass a conductor certification exam. Study material alone is $340. The exam fee, $250. If you fail, you pay again. Training pay, $21.40 an hour. Sounds decent. Until you realize training is 16 weeks of classroom and simulation, and you're not working overtime during that window. You're taking home about $2,900 a month before rent. Nashville rent in 2022, $1,450 for a 1-bedroom. You do the math standing in a parking lot and feel your stomach drop. But you pass. You get your FRA conductor certification. You're on the extra board now. That means you're on call. No fixed schedule. Your phone rings at 2 a.m. You go. They call it rest requirement compliance. FRA mandates a minimum 10-hour break between shifts. In practice, you're getting called at hour 10 and 2 minutes. Every single time. Your base rate moves to $28.65 an hour as a certified conductor. But here's the hidden math. You work irregular hours. You're not salaried. You're paid by the mile and the hour, depending on the agreement. A CSX yard job might pay you a basic day of 108 miles equivalent whether you work 6 hours or 14 hours. Some days that's fine. Some days you do 11 hours of hard switching work and you're paid for 6. Your first full year gross, $54,000. The job posting said $70,000 to $90,000. You ask an older conductor about it. He just looks at you. Wait for your mark, he says. Seniority. Everything in this industry runs on seniority. You are dead last on the list. You get the shifts nobody wants. You get the towns nobody wants to live in. You get the holidays. The BNSF injury rate in 2023 was 3.1 incidents per 200,000 employee hours. You don't know what that number means yet. You will. You are 23. You have your conductor cert. You decide to go further. You apply for locomotive engineer training. This is where it gets real. Level 3, engineer trainee, Tichy mid-tier grind, age 23 to 28, the throttle is yours. The schedule isn't. You are 23 years old and you're sitting in a locomotive simulator in Fort Worth, Texas. Union Pacific's training facility. The simulator cost the railroad $4 million. You cost them $34 an hour in training wages. The FRA locomotive engineer certification process is no joke. It's 12 months minimum. You need to log a certain number of qualifying trips. Pass written exams. Pass operational performance tests. Have a railroad certify you on specific territory, which means you have to learn every signal, every curve, every grade change, every speed restriction on your assigned route. Some routes are 300 miles of territory. You memorize all of it. The total cost to the railroad to train one engineer, estimated at $80,000 to $120,000. They know this. They make you sign a training agreement. If you leave within 3 years, you owe them a prorated chunk back. You are financially anchored to this company. You pass your certification at 24. You are officially a Class 1 locomotive engineer. Your new rate, $34.10 an hour on the UP agreement, plus mileage pay. You start running freight. Mixed manifest trains. Grain trains out of Nebraska. Intermodal stacks through Kansas. Now the brutal reality of the on-call life fully hits you. The FRA hours of service law says you can work a maximum of 12 hours before mandatory rest. After that, if you're not back at your home terminal, the railroad deadheads you, taxes you back or puts you in a motel. This sounds fine. Until you're stuck in North Platte at a Quality Inn for the third week in a row with a $42 a day meal allowance and your girlfriend stops calling as much. The National Railroad Engineer divorce rate is not a published statistic. But ask any engineer over 40. They'll give you a number. It's higher than you think. You gross $71,000 your first full year as a certified engineer. You feel rich for about 2 weeks. Then you calculate what you made per actual hour worked, including the deadhead time, the called and release shifts where they call you and then send you home without pay, the rest requirement limbo. Your effective rate is closer to $22 an hour. You are 26. You start looking at the BNSF agreement. Better mileage rates. You lateral. You lose seniority. You start over at the bottom of a new board. You do it anyway because the UP supervisors have been treating you like a number since day one, and you're tired. At 28, you are running unit coal trains through Wyoming's Powder River Basin. 135 cars. 15,000 tons. You and one other person in the cab. You're responsible for moving the equivalent of a small town's power supply. Your annual gross is $78,000. On paper, you're doing fine. Your left knee has started making a sound. Level 4, Senior Engineer, the Specialist Lane, age 28 to 38, top 10% territory. The price of getting there. You are 29. You have seniority now. Real seniority. You can hold a regular assignment, a guaranteed job, not the extra board. You pick a through freight road job out of Alliance, Nebraska. Kansas City turn. You run it 3 days a week. This is the Specialist Lane. High-speed manifest freight. Intermodal. Hazmat certification adds $1,200 to your cert fees and 40 hours of training. You do it. Because hazmat routes pay a premium. Your annual gross at $88,500. Some years with overtime, you crack $100,000. You've hit the BLS top 10%. You read it on your phone. You don't laugh this time. But here's what that $100,000 looks like broken down. Federal and state taxes pull out $28,000. Union dues, UTU, Smart TD, $840 a year. Railroad Retirement Board contribution, your version of Social Security, eats 4.9% of gross up to the tier threshold. That's another $400. Health insurance premium contribution, $3,200 annually. The railroad picks up the rest, but they've been negotiating that cost higher every contract cycle since 2008. You take home $63,000 on a $100,000 year. You drive a used F-150. You own a house in a small Nebraska town where real estate is cheap because there's nothing there except the railroad and a Dollar General. This is not a complaint. This is math. The physical math is also accumulating. Locomotive cabs are not ergonomic. You sit in a high vibration seat for 8 to 10 hours at a time. You're gripping controls and watching track ahead in total concentration. Musculoskeletal disorders are the leading occupational injury category in rail operations. Lower back, knees, shoulder. Your left knee isn't just making a sound anymore. An MRI at 34 reveals early osteoarthritis. Your doctor asks if you do a lot of sitting with vibration exposure. You describe your job. He nods slowly. You are 35. You start thinking about what else this industry can offer. Supervision. Instruction. Something that keeps you in the industry but gets you off the cab floor. A training officer slot opens in Denver. You apply. Level 5, Management and Instruction, age 38 to 48, you're responsible for everyone else's mistakes now you are 38. You are a locomotive engineer instructor for a regional carrier based in Denver. You run a simulator training program. You certify new engineers. You teach territory. You write performance assessments. Your salary is now $89,000 fixed, no mileage, no overtime incentive. On paper that's a pay cut from your best road years. In practice, your schedule is predictable for the first time in 15 years. You sleep in your own bed 250 nights a year instead of 180. At 41, you move into a trainmaster role, field operations supervisor. You manage a district. You investigate accidents. You handle FRA compliance audits. You deal with attendance issues, disciplinary hearings, union grievances. You learn very quickly that managing people who used to be your peers is a specific and unpleasant skill set that nobody teaches you formally. Your new salary, $102,000. Plus a company truck. Plus expenses. The hidden cost of management, your union membership lapses. You are now management. You lose railroad retirement Tier 2 credits accumulation as you knew it. Your pension calculation shifts. You talk to an RRB advisor for 2 hours and come out understanding that the choices you make in your 40s determine whether retirement at 60 is real or fictional. The industry attrition data you now see from the inside is stark. Nearly 40% of new railroad hires leave within 24 months. You are training people who will be gone in 2 years. The pipeline is always broken. The Class 1 roads are always hiring because they're always losing people. At 45, you become division superintendent for a regional railroad. Not a Class 1, a short line operator. 200 miles of track. 40 employees. $127,000 salary. You are, by any reasonable measure, successful. You also work 60-hour weeks. You're on call for every major incident on your territory. When a derailment happens at 3 a.m. in January in central Wyoming, you drive there. Your left knee has now been scoped twice. Your doctor has started using the word replacement in sentences that include the word eventually. Level 6, Independent Owner, the endgame, age 48 to 58, you don't work for the railroad anymore. The railroad works for you. You are 48. You've been contacted by a private equity-backed short-line holding company. They want to sell a 280-mile regional railroad in the Mountain West. The seller's discretionary earnings, SDE, are $1.1 million per year. Short-line railroads sell at 3x to 4x SDE at current market multiples. Asking price, $3.8 million. This is not a fantasy. This happens. Small regional railroads change hands regularly. The American Short Line and Regional Railroad Association represents 600-plus short line operators. The market exists. You need 20% down, $760,000. You have $410,000 in savings and railroad retirement equity. You bring in a silent partner, your former division manager who retired at 55 with capital and boredom. He puts in $400,000. You close the deal through an SBA 7(a) loan at 7.2% on the remaining $3.04 million. Your monthly debt service, $28,400. Year 1 as owner, revenue is $4.2 million. Operating expenses, labor, fuel, maintenance, track rehabilitation, insurance, regulatory compliance, consume $3.0 million. Your EBITDA, $1.2 million. After debt service, you're netting $860,000 between yourself and your partner. Your personal take, $430,000. For the first time in your life, the number on your tax return has a comma in a place that surprises you. But the work is relentless. You have an FRA audit in year 2. A bridge rehabilitation project that costs $2.2 million and requires a federal INFRA grant you spend 14 months applying for. A labor dispute in year 3 that nearly breaks you. You are the CEO, the HR department, the compliance officer, and sometimes the engineer when someone doesn't show up. At 55, you are approached by a Class 1 railroad looking to expand its feed into your territory. They want to buy you out. The offer, $4.6 million. Your original equity stake after paying down debt, approximately $1.2 million in real terms. The buyout nets you $2.3 million after splitting with your partner and covering taxes. You take it. Somebody else starts where you stood. You are 58. You have $2.3 million from the sale, your railroad retirement board annuity vesting, which begins full draw at 60 with 30 years of creditable service, and a house in a small town that is paid off. The RRB Tier 1 benefit will pay you approximately $2,800 per month. Tier 2, the railroad-specific pension, adds another $1,400. Total, $4,200 a month before Medicare. Plus your investment portfolio. You are, by the numbers, fine. Your left knee gets replaced in September of your 59th year. The recovery takes 4 months. During those 4 months you sit in a recliner and watch a lot of YouTube. One day an algorithm serves you a video about railroad careers. The comments are full of 19-year-olds asking how to get hired at Union Pacific. You start typing a response. You stop. You close the app. What would you tell them? That the BLS median sounds decent until you factor in the years on the extra board? That the divorce rate is a real thing that nobody puts in the job posting? That your knee had opinions about your career choice that you didn't hear until it was too late? Or would you tell them the other thing, that the math, if you survive it, actually works? That a kid from Shelby, Ohio who started handing tools to strangers for $13.50 an hour can end up with a paid-off house and a 7-figure exit and a pension? Both are true. That's the thing nobody tells you at the start. Both are always true at the same time. Somewhere right now, there's a 16-year-old in a 2 sizes too big high-vis vest. His boots don't fit right. He smells like creosote. He's watching someone else drive the machine. He's doing the math. He's got about 40 years of track ahead of him. You hope he has good knees.